Welcome to Energetic Advantage, the podcast where energy isn't woo, it's your edge. I'm your host, Jessica Serrato, intuitive strategist, lifelong pattern decoder, lover of numbers, and energetic guide for visionary leaders. Around here, we go energy first, strategy second. Every episode will give you a perspective, a tool, or a timeline shift that helps you lead from your power. Because the truth is, your energy is your most undervalued asset until you learn how to use it. Get ready, you're about to have the advantage. Let's begin. Welcome back to Energetic Advantage. Okay, first of all, happy January 37th. Happy January 42nd. However you're counting, I guarantee you, if you haven't yet seen them, you're going to start to see these memes in your feed on socials. Not going to lie, January was long. For those of you who joined in on my January energy forecast, this was one of the main energetic themes that were coming through. I let you know that January wouldn't feel like the new year, like it would be more, like my kids would say, a soft launch, like a waiting room where it's like, don't push yet, but also don't check out kind of month. And so before we jump into the meat of the episode today, which is the February energy forecast, I just wanted to point out the difference between knowing the energy ahead of time and not. Since I knew January would feel like it would have 38 days, I'm not annoyed, right? I am in the energy and I am using that knowledge to my advantage. I am taking advantage of this long energy feeling because I also know that, spoiler, February is going to fly by like a horse galloping, literally, when the new year shifts on February 17th. So the last episode here of every month is going to be an energetic forecast. And this has been something that I've been doing for the past 5 years. Time and time again, I get messages like, how did you know this turned out exactly as you said it would? Here's why. Energy has a pattern, and I am an expert at decoding those patterns. Just like a meteorologist can predict weather, a numerologist, an energy strategist can predict energy. And so what I'm going to share with you in these forecasts is universal energy, like the energetic weather that we all feel. But of course, this doesn't mean like we're going to all have the same experience and we're all going to live the same lives. Why? Because just think about weather, like actual weather. When it rains, everyone reacts differently. Some people don't go outside at all. Some people put a rain jacket and go hiking. Some people go outside naked. Whatever you choose to do, the fact that you know it's going to rain gives you the confidence to choose knowing what the environment is. And that is why what I'm sharing with you is not a fortune telling, right? I'm not in the fortune telling business. I am in the forecasting business, because my work really instills confidence in you and the fact that you have free will. You have a choice. And you just have more choices when you know what the weather is going to be. And this is all based on the fact that numbers are energy. Way back when with Pythagoras, A squared plus B squared plus C squared guy, he hypothesized, well, he was studying music, and that music has a vibration, which we all know to be true. And during that time, he also hypothesized and proved that numbers also have a vibration, right? They oscillate at a different rate per second. So you can imagine seeing and feeling a number with like a different energetic wave. And that's what I'm tapping into. That's what I'm feeling into. And that's what I am predicting. And so I hope these forecasts will really serve as the weather of the month ahead, and allow you to feel more confident, allow you to plan ahead, and really give you the advantage so that it feels like you're hitting all the green lights. That is my goal here. So let's dive in. Okay, so February is efficient. This year, it starts on a Sunday and it ends on a Saturday. It's a clean, contained, perfect 28-day cycle. There's no extra days. There's no weird bleed over, those months that have like 5-6 weeks, whatever. It's just precision. And that alone tells you something about the energy. In February, there's no fluff. There's no wiggle room. So it is important to take the 57 days that we have in January to prep. Now, I don't mean do everything. Food prep here, I think, is a really great example. I'm not saying cook all of your meals ahead of time, because the meals get cold, they're hard to store, like all these things, right? But get the groceries, cut the veggies. And if you're listening to this, we have 3 more days of the month. They might feel like 7 or 8, but what can you prep? What can you do ahead of time so that when February energy comes and it starts to move faster, you feel like you're prepared? And because of this energy, it's the perfect month to talk about cycles. Because this container that I talked about, Sunday to Saturday, these clean 4 weeks of 7 days, giving us 28 days, it gives us a really clear container to observe them, right? The universe trains us to think like this. Calendars, planners, they're all running Sunday to Saturday. But obviously, we are all unique. And every single one of us was born on a different day of the week, which means that we all run on different energetic rhythms and cycles. This is why, if you think just about your family and friends, right? This is why some people peak midweek. Some people crash on Sundays. Some people feel motivated to do different things on different days. And for me, I'll give you an example. My week starts on a Thursday, and each day is governed by a different planetary cycle. So Thursday for me is always a great day to think and plan and write. It's a great communication day. And Friday is all about relationships and connection. And so, of course, I'm going to plan things differently. But here's really what I want you to hear. Saturday is my Mars, which means that on Saturday, I feel a natural urge or an inclination to work, to get things done, to move forward on my mission, to be committed, right? I have 2 kids. And I don't know, like no one obviously told the school district about my personal energy cycle because they don't have school on Saturday. So this is an example of, I'll tell you what I do in a second. This is an example of like, even when we know our energy, it does not mean that we can align with it perfectly or even use it as an excuse to do or not do something. But it did explain to me why sometimes I would end up feeling frustrated or I had a lot of pent up energy on Saturday when I didn't do things for myself. And so what I do now is I give myself a few extra hours in the morning. I wake up before taekwondo, before soccer, before swim lessons, oh my gosh, before guitar and piano and all of these things. And I like get her done. And because of that, I do not feel any of that pent up energy later on in the day. And if this is something that interests you, let me know and I'll talk about it on a future podcast. But knowing which day best suits your unique energy is a game changer. And it's funny because you get to know this about other people too. Like I knew, I won't say his name, but there was one guy when I worked in my former company, and I just knew like not to schedule a meeting with him on a Tuesday. And it feels like Tuesday would be the perfect day to schedule a meeting. Nope, not with this guy, because that was his Saturn day. And he was just, are you sure? Well, what about this? Like it wasn't a great day to brainstorm and get things done. And so I chose to make it easier for myself and I schedule it on a different day. Okay, so what you can do this month is just observe yourself, observe your natural cycles. Where during the week you tend to have more energy. And like I said, this is inspiring me to maybe share on a future episode about how you can really work with your weekly cycle. Okay, we talked a little bit about what is present this month, and what isn't is February 29th. So February 29th only happens once every 4 years, right? And if we were to have a February 29th this year, it would hold the energy of the 5 and the 9 of clubs, which for me gives me a hint or a breadcrumb that this month we might be missing a little bit of a flexibility of thought. We might be wanting to have certainty, rather curiosity. And so knowing that, I want to remind you that the goal is not certainty this month. You aren't going to be sure before you do the thing. I would invite you to bring in more curiosity. Now, for those of you who love math, I think you're going to love this next little antidote here, which translates into the energy. February is also the only month ever where the energy starts exactly as it ends. Every other month, we start off with an energy cycle and we end on a different note. But February always is the same. Why? Because the first one is the same as 28. 2 plus 8 equals 10. 1 plus 0 equals 1. And in this year, in February of 2026, that energy equals 4. So this also reminds us that we are invited to create structure. We cannot run from structure this month. And for those of you, I know that's hard. You're probably turning off the podcast right now, but I'm telling you, freedom comes from discipline. The fun comes from the structure. You cannot run from it. You have to build it. If we look at this energy of February, I want you to envision this number. So I'm going to give you a little bit of math here. February carries the 3 energy. You get this by taking the second month, so 2, and then add it to the year. 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 6. So that's 12. 1 plus 2 equals 3. And it's all about communication, expression, and creativity. But it's not like the brainstorm on a whiteboard or fluff or energy. It needs the structure. Here's why. You feel into the number 3. If you try to envision it in your mind, it's open on one side, but closed on the other, which means there is a strong polarity in this month. Some people are going to feel wide open. The ideas are flowing. The conversations are clicking. Expression is coming so easily. And others are going to feel compressed, like cornered, like the walls are coming in. And they're putting their turtle shell, their back to people because they are uncertain. And so the question that February is going to ask you is, how do you respond when you feel that pressure? How do you respond when you start to feel a little bit constricted? And this ties into one of the biggest themes of the year, which is, do not tell me who or what you are against. Tell me what you're for. February is really going to make that obvious. So if your language is reactive, if your communication is defensive, if you are defining yourself by the opposition, this month is going to feel super tight. But if your language is directional, intentional, clear about what you are moving towards, the energy will open. Clarity will create space in February. Okay. Now I want to talk about what I'm calling the month and the reason why I'm subtitling February as beyond logic, okay? Because when I say February is beyond logic, I am not saying abandon your brain. I am saying that logic is the doorway. It's not the destination. So yes, get the facts, do the math, use your mind. But if you stop there, you are going to miss the entire point of the month. Because 3, yes, is about communication, but that includes unspoken communication. And this is honestly what I see in leaders all the time. So leaders that are smart, high IQs, great credentials, really strong strategic minds. But your advantage doesn't come from being smart. It comes from being able to go beyond smart. If you think about those people who can ace the tests, crush the numbers, nail the plan, and they still cannot read the room. They can't feel what isn't being said. They miss the undercurrent. They don't sense the moment that the energy shifts. February is that month to really tap into that. So yes, I want you to ask yourself, what am I seeing? And I also want you to go further and ask yourself, what am I not seeing? What is in the room that no one is naming? What is the energy beyond the words? What is the energy behind your words? What is trying to communicate without language? That is beyond logic. And over the past 7 days, I've been doing this challenge, and we've been talking about everyone's unique energetic advantage. And I'm going to say something that might annoy some of you, but I'm going to say it anyway. Being intuitive in and of itself is not your energetic advantage. Let me say it again. Being intuitive is not your energetic advantage because number one, everyone is intuitive. And number two, if you do nothing with your intuition, it is wasted. So here is what I want you to hear. Being intuitive isn't an advantage if you don't listen to it. And listening is not an advantage if you don't track it and start to notice the patterns. And tracking is not an advantage if you keep outsourcing the meaning. So February will really reward the people who first notice, second, record, three, stay curious, and let the patterns reveal themselves over time. Because this is self-trust in action. So you're like, okay, Jess, how do I do this? Okay. So let's talk about intuition as energy. This is the key for this month. Your intuition will be loud this month, but your intuition doesn't speak in paragraphs. Intuition tends to use shorthands. It uses shortcuts, right? It's like very efficient. Again, the month of February is efficient. It's symbolic. It's not going to explain itself. It's going to assume that you are going to learn the pattern over time. And this is where most people miss their energetic advantage. Although we have universal energy, signs and symbols are not universal. A red bird does not mean one thing, right? When you get a smell or a sound or a sensation, it does not mean one thing because meaning is personal and it's also cumulative and it's also situational. So for one person, when they see a red bird, that's their grandma coming through. Another person might see a red bird and know that's like as a warning or like maybe stop. For someone else, it's confirmation or it's urgency or it's freedom. Whatever it is, it's the same symbol, but it is a different language. So when you see a sign this month, when you have a synchronicity come into your field, I want you to say this first. I see you. Thank you. More, please. This will strengthen the signal. And also on the flip side, if you've already gotten a message, you are allowed to say that too. Like, thank you, I've got it. Or if you keep on getting the same sign or symbol, I don't know if this happens to everyone, it happens to me a lot, and you might not be sure yet of its meaning. You can say, okay, thank you. I get that I'm trying to receive a message here, but can you show it to me in a different way? You are in conversation with your intuition. You are meant to communicate with it this month. I'll give you a real life example from me. When I first started, I did a lot of meditation and visualization with the numbers because I wanted to connect with them more and of course connect with my intuition. And when I was meditating on the number 5, I got this strange sensation like I was tasting ketchup. And I was like, man, like what does that mean? Now, if I had stopped and Googled, what does tasting ketchup mean spiritually? I don't even know what I would have found. Like it probably would have talked me out of what I was actually feeling. What I was actually feeling is ketchup for me symbolizes like freedom and like movement, breaking routine. I don't know if it would help for me to tell you like why I got there. But when I noticed it over time, I was like, aha, right? And so that is the difference between like intuition and interpretation. Intuition is instant. Interpretation sometimes is delayed. And February, it wants you to shorten that time, right? Another example, a lot of times when energy comes through in terms of like people for me, if I were to smell smoke, it doesn't literally mean that the person coming through smoked. For me, it represents age, like an old person, like someone who has lived, history, elder energy, right? So you just see here how like intuition uses a shortcut. It's not literal, it is efficient. And again, it's trusting you to learn your language through repetition. And so your intuition right now is building a pattern library, and you can really help yourself do this. So this might start with like a sensation in your body, right? Maybe it's a ringing in your ear or like a cool breeze on your neck when you're not outside, you're not in the wind, like a tingling in your foot. For me, itchiness or scratchiness sometimes comes. It could also be a repeated image. Maybe it's the feather, maybe it's the dime, right? Whatever that is. It could be a word that you keep hearing. It could be a number that shows up. And at first it might feel random, but I promise you it is not. It just is shorthand, right? And so this month for everybody, I invite you to do this simple thing. It might not be easy, but it is simple, to start an intuition log. So you have to promise no Googling, no interpretations in the moment. I want you just to write what you noticed, like what was the sensation, what was the number, what was the feeling, what was the sound, whatever. When it showed up, what was happening around you, and how you felt. And let the meaning emerge. Don't force it. Your dictionary will write itself through use. And no matter how long you have done it, how long some of you have been in the energetic space, whether you're a beginner or you've done this for years, your dictionary, just like your dictionary always updates. So you can use the example of like Merriam-Webster. Every year, they add words because society changes, culture changes, right? I'm laughing at some of the words they added last year, right? And so it's not like you can do this one time and know that it's for sure complete. Your dictionary updates every day, every month, every year. So if you've done this type of exercise before, I invite you to go deeper and do it again and see what new language your intuition is wanting to speak into this month. Okay, so we have a few other themes here that I want to chat about for February. We got to talk about sabotage because 3 energy is the queen of sabotage. 3, if I were to put it on its home base in the energetic field, it is a mental energy and it's feminine, right? And so sometimes if we think about that mental feminine energy, sometimes it's easy to identify sabotage. Like sometimes it's like, I know I'm sabotaging myself here, right? But at high levels, what I actually see most in leaders is that sabotage doesn't look messy and it's not obvious. It really looks brilliant and it's super smart. So it's not the typical, I'm not doing the thing, right? That's sabotage. I'm avoiding the thing. No, leaders typically don't avoid the thing. But it does look like I'm doing something very smart that keeps me from doing the thing that I know I should do, right? This is what smart sabotage looks like. So if I can give you some other examples, smart sabotage is like building the strategy instead of just like getting into the offer. Refining the message instead of just having the conversation, researching just one more angle before deciding, or creating a new plan, right? And so how do you know? I guess here's the question. How do you know it's sabotage in disguise? Because I know you all are smart listening to me and the obvious signs of sabotage, right? Here are the tells. So the first tell is it's clean, but it has no pulse. It's like not alive. It sounds right. It reads really well. It makes sense. Like if you were to explain this to someone, they'd be like, oh, like she is so smart. But your body is saying no. Okay. Your brain cannot outsmart your body. Number 2, it is buying you time, meaning it is giving you the illusion of progress without requiring exposure or vulnerability. Number 3, it protects your identity, right? So if you do it smart, you don't have to be wrong. You don't have to risk the no, right? And number 4, like when you commit, you feel the energy contract. So it's not nerves, that's different. Because a strategy can be smart and it can still be sabotage if it goes against what wants to move. And February makes that super obvious. Let's talk about another big theme of February, which is confident expression versus true expression. And I promise you, as soon as you listen to this episode, and then you maybe have a conversation with someone or you go back on your socials, you're going to see this so clearly and you're not going to be able to unsee it. And I'm so happy for you because you're going to be ahead of the curve for February. 3 is the confident communicator in its empowered form, right? But I want you to hear this. confidence is not the same thing as truth. Some people speak with so much certainty and confidence that it bypasses discernment. And listen, I know a lot of threes, or people who have a lot of three in their chart, love them, and they say things with such conviction and confidence that sometimes I find myself believing them, not because they're right, but because they're confident. This happens a lot in business, maybe when they've done a few different things or they're even still learning the thing. But because they speak so confidently, you take everything they say as truth, and it's not always the case. I'm laughing. I'm choosing a story in my head of what to share, and I'm not going to call anyone out here on the podcast, but I will share with you a really impactful example actually from my life. When my kids were little, this perfectly illustrates what I'm talking about. Because right now I hear someone energetically saying, I'm not fooled by that. No matter how confident someone else is, I can always tell if they're lying, or I can always see to the truth, or I can always know if they know. No, you can't. You can have a good BS meter. I mean, I do. But there is still some times where because they are so confident, you might second guess yourself. Here's a perfect example. So this is when I have two kids, Justine and Charlie, and they're like 2.5 years apart. So this is back when Charlie was maybe 1.5, and Justine was 3 turning 4. And we were doing the daycare drop off. And so they went to different daycares, of course. If you're a parent out there, if you know, you know, of course, your kids can't possibly have the same drop off and pick up that would make life so easy. I'm just kidding. But luckily, Charlie, my youngest, her daycare is right across the street from my house. And so we were dropping her off first, and Justine decided to stay in the backyard and play while I brought Charlie in. And I remember coming out into the backyard, and Justine was not there. Like, I called her name, she wasn't there. As you can imagine, as a parent, I am panicking. I run back to the house, she's not there. I look up and down our street. We live on a small cul-de-sac, not there. And in my head, I'm like, I bet you anything she freaking walked to school. And for context, her preschool is walkable, right? It's just across from the park. We can walk there in about 5 minutes. So I'm like, okay. So I start walking towards daycare, but maybe not walking, if I'm honest. I was probably running, I was sweating, and our community is small, it's close-knit, and so right away, I run into one of the dads of the kids at preschool. He was walking back home after dropping his son off, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, have you seen Justine? And he looked at me, and he's like, yeah, she told me that you said she could walk to preschool by herself. Okay, so imagine this. 3, almost 4-year-old walking down the street by herself. She sees someone she knows. The dad stopped and he said, hey, Justine, like, what are you doing walking by yourself? So confidently, she said, oh, my mom told me to walk to school by myself this morning. And he believed her because she was so confident in her expression. And I'm going to tell you something. He wasn't the only person fooled. She also did it to a second parent. And by the time I got to preschool, she had put all the stuff away in her cubby. She was like in there. And the teachers looked at me and were like, wow, like that's like really independent. Like, we can't believe you let her walk to school by herself. And I was like, are you kidding me? Right? And so I just have to laugh about that, because even in that situation where you're just like, no one, or if you put yourself in the situation, imagine you were one of the parents or you were the teachers at school, like, you probably are smart enough to be like, oh, I don't think that would happen. But because her speech and the way she said it was so confident, they believed her. And so this proves my point that confidence is a frequency. And truth is a frequency, but they are not the same. And so we are seeing this everywhere right now, not only on social media, but AI is a perfect example. So for those of you who use ChatGPT or any other version of AI, I want you to tell me the last time it responded to one of your questions with, oh, I'm not sure. Never. It speaks like it knows, right? And so if you are not sure, do not ask AI because it will be sure and it will sound confident. And I'm not saying don't use AI, right? I'm not saying don't make your life easier. Sure, use AI, but use it intentionally. Tell it what it is and then ask it to bring it together, right? There's a million ways to use it, but going to AI because you are not confident, asking it a question, and then taking that frequency of confidence that it writes in and you turning it into truth before you put it through your guidance system is a recipe for failure. Here's what I want you to hear. February requires discernment between strong delivery and actual accuracy, between influence and integrity, and between a compelling narrative and what is real. So I want you to ask yourself this question this month. Is this true? Or is this just confidently said? You can also ask yourself, do I feel clearer after I hear this? Or do I feel hijacked? Because true communication leaves you more you, not less. And this is exactly why writing your own intuitive dictionary matters. Because when you are fluent in your signals, you are harder to manipulate by people or narratives, by fear, by the room. You'll still listen, right? You'll still consider, but you won't outsource the truth. This is one of my energetic advantages. It's not like I close myself off to the world and don't take anyone's opinions, right? I love hearing how other people maybe are feeling the energy. I love listening to other forecasts. And sometimes I listen and I consider and I say, oh yeah, I don't feel that way, right? Because I know what I saw, what I felt. And because I know what that means, I know that it is my truth. And my job is to be confident in my truth. As the year of the horse starts, as he gallops in February 17th, depth is really going to beat breadth, right? We got to go deeper, not wider. I want you to think symbolically, not linearly. And remember that certainty is not the goal. Curiosity is the way through here, right? If you're wanting some support, I have a day-by-day calendar, which shares with you the specific energetic forecast for each day, both the empowered side, the disempowered side, some questions to consider, some activations to take into consideration. Because when you understand this universal energy, it's not just you sometimes, like it is the energy, right? And the calendar doesn't tell you what to do. It tells you what's in the air. It tells you what the weather is, right? And it allows you to make decisions. You get your first month for free. We'll put the link in the show notes. And I really encourage you to play with it this month and let me know how it feels. As we end here, I'll share with you just a few other challenges that are just coming in actually right now. Scattered energy, saying yes to everything and feeling spread too thin, and comparison, okay? And to really combat all of those challenges, you have to say what you're for, build what you can stand inside, and trust what keeps showing up for you. Let meaning lead, not logic. And I'm super curious. I would love to know how this energy forecast lands for you. How are you feeling? I did a year ahead forecast for a group a few weeks ago. And the feedback I got was, wow, like I was already feeling that, but this confirmed my knowing. And I love that, right? Because we're all intuitive. It's your job to use that intuitiveness as an advantage. So let me know, message me on Instagram, join my community. Let me know how February is feeling for you, what you are most excited about. And I'm super excited for everyone to experience this new energy. I'm also so excited to finally get out of January. Next month, we also start to see here on the podcast, we welcome some guests. I've already had some amazing conversations, and you're going to hear from leaders who use their energy as their advantage in their everyday life, in their everyday work, in different ways. So I'm so excited for you to get to meet them. And in the meantime, if this podcast is something you want to hear on a regular basis, if something that I shared today sparked something in you, please, I invite you to leave a review, leave a rating, share with your friends, and tell me what you want to hear. Energetic Advantage is for you to really create the energy and the frequency that you want to live in for 2026. I'm doubling down. 2026 is the year of the visionary leader, and I am here to support you in really embodying that and landing into this identity. So anything I could share, any topics, any questions you have, please reach out, let me know, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for being here inside the Energetic Advantage. If today's episode opened something for you, share it, tag it, or send it to the person who popped into your mind. And remember, energy first, strategy second. Your advantage has always been in you. Now it's time to lead with it. See you next time.